Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone is doing very well on this gloomy, sort of colder Monday evening. We are here to review the Tottenham versus Manchester United game on Saturday, which was, to put lightly, a roller coaster, especially in the last sort of 20 minutes. I'm delighted to be joined alongside, of course, Thomas Frank's AI son, Frank Thomas. Yes, that is his name, as always. Very quickly, Frank, how are you doing, mate? And have you recovered from Saturday's lunchtime madness?
I have. In isolation, it's not the worst result in the world. I think I was even more frustrated on Saturday afternoon, where I'll preface this, don't gamble. But I had a bet on Mbeumo to score first and Tottenham to win 2-1. So I was really miserable after full time, probably more so than everyone else. But no, I've recovered because in isolation, it's not the worst result in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of thought draw before the game wouldn't be terrible. I know that's quite pessimistic, but I was actually gutted in the end. But as you can also see, I'm joined alongside, Frank and I are joined alongside Kish from Lily White Lab. Kish, absolute pleasure to have you on the channel again, my man. It has been, a couple, 2 or 3 months since you were last on, but a lot has happened with Tottenham. And looking forward to getting your thoughts, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm happy to be here, bro. I was at the game as well on Saturday, so I can give you a decent kind of overview, I reckon. But yeah, I think I was very frustrated post game. I think since then, I've found some positives within it, especially individuals. But I think the main frustration for me is just coming from the level of teams that are coming to our stadium and it not being very high, and thinking there's so much more we could do against these teams. We should be kind of dominating such, I think, poor teams anyway. I don't think United are good at all. I think Chelsea are nowhere near as good as we made them out to be. Wolves as well, you know, they're not good sides. So that's my main kind of issue, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It feels like there was a missed opportunity, especially at home. You know, obviously only 3 wins, I think it is, in the whole of 2025, which is incredible in the Premier League. So yeah, definitely areas to improve. We will be breaking those down. We've got some tactical analysis on the screenshot. I think it's JLA board that Frank likes doing. We're also, of course, going to get Kish's thoughts on those individual moments, as well as a bit of stats and breakdown. Guys, really appreciate you all joining. Please do make sure you're doing me 4 massive favors. It's normally 3, but please do me 4 today, guys. Make sure you are, if you're watching on repeat or live, hitting that like button for us, guys. It means an absolute awful lot. It helps massively with the algorithms and pushing us out there. Turn on the notification bell down below as well to the channel if you are new, and subscribe. And that is the 3. And the 4th one for me, guys, I'm going to pop Kish's channel, Lily White Lab, an amazing channel. Get some credible guests. I mean, for a starter for 10, I mean, AJ Tracy on a couple of months ago was a great episode. So guys, please go and check out Kish's channel. I'm going to pop it in the live chat as well, but it's also in the description down below. You don't even have to come off this live stream to go and subscribe to his channel. Please, every single person, if you're not subscribed to Kish, go and subscribe to his channel as well. But let's get into things, guys. Let's start off. Well, that's a little bit of a teaser. Let's go straight in and talk about a couple of the key stats from the game, because I feel like it was a game of 2 halves. Essentially, this was the sort of overall concept of the game, kind of quite even, maybe Spurs dominating slightly overall. But then this was the first half, and as you can see, not very good from a Spurs point of view, only 0.14 XG. But second half was a different story, and although the XG wasn't crazy, you can just see the sheer difference and momentum switch between the first half and the second half. And starting with you, Frank, did you really feel like after that second half performance that Spurs deserved more than just the point overall, looking at that?
I don't know. I mean, I think we started the first sort of 10 minutes of the game quite well. Why we sort of didn't create actually very much. I thought there was an intensity that we hadn't really seen us start games with of late. And I was quite positive. And then it kind of slowed down. United got a bit of a foothold on the ball. And there were some all right moments, but they just didn't really create anything, bar the one Richarlison chance where he sort of missed the header completely. But they didn't really create anything in the first half. In the second half, they seem to go for it, Spurs, when there's jeopardy on it. And that's the concern for me, that unless there's jeopardy on the game, they don't seem to actually create very much or do very much at all. And that's kind of the fear for me. But I think after the second half, I think, to be honest, United had a couple of chances that they probably... I think there were points in that game where United didn't take their foot... Sorry, where United didn't have their foot on the gas at all. And they were kind of in, second gear. And so I think it's probably a reasonable result, to be honest.
Sure, no, absolutely. And switching over to you, Kish. Guys, by the way, keep popping your comments in. I am going to catch up with the live chat in just a minute. Kish, what did you make of the game, sort of in a nutshell, mate? Did you feel like a draw was a fair result, or did you think that Spurs kind of got a bit unlucky at the end? What's your thoughts?
I think a draw was fair. I think Frank makes a good point there about jeopardy, and I think the thing is that Frank is approaching games like he doesn't want to lose rather than he wants to win them. So I think part of the reason why there's a couple of reasons why I think it massively improved second half. I think first thing is game state. So we were losing, so we had to be more aggressive and dominate the ball more. We had to show more intent. While also United were kind of happy to drop off a bit and allow us more of the ball. They have some big units back there that defend their box well. So they were kind of happy to drop into that. And then also the personnel changes, which I think at least one of Udogie or Odebear should have started on that left flank. Neither of them started. Odebear came on at half time for an injured Kolo Muani. But then Udogie also came on. I think both of them were excellent. My issue is just like why didn't at least one of them start? Because who did we had Richarlison sort of playing a kind of wide-ish left role and Spence also playing left back, and there was no width there. Both Odebear at left wing or Udogie at left back can provide some width, so I think we needed one of those to play, especially without having the threat of Kudus on the other side. We needed something. So yeah, that was my kind of main takeaways. I think United aren't great, but a draw was a fair result, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we'll break down a couple of the key moments in the game that Frank's identified. And I know, Kish, you did a video on your channel just before this on Odebear, which I got through most of. But yeah, it was a really good analysis, guys. So if you want to sort of deep dive into more of the individual performances and how certain players are performing in this Frank system, please do go and check out Kish's channel, as I just put in the into the live chat there and the description. But guys, who's in the chat? We've got Logan, says evening fellas, big up to all. Wayne Bonners says good evening folks, hope you're well and having a good Monday. From what I saw of the game, we had a good 15-20 spell. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that in the second half, but at least we didn't lose at home again. No, we didn't. Frank saved by Ange Ball. That being the case, why did Spurs sack Ange in the first place? Binny Guy, I'm not going to get into an Ange versus Frank debate now because it'll probably be here all night, and it just splits Twitter all the time. It's crazy. I mean, sometimes people comment on my posts and say, why are you slagging off Ange? And I'm like, I've not even mentioned Ange. It's absolutely crazy. Wayne Bonner, as for Xavi, I like him, good player. He'll come good, but he needs wide players and a striker. Something we want to cover, obviously, from the title of the video. Is Xavi struggling in this system? Are we not seeing the best out of him? Obviously, he has improved in the last couple of matches, but certainly I feel like there is more to give for Xavi Simons. You buy attacking number 10 and Frank implements fossil defense football. Talk about efficiency. What are we doing exactly? Ghost Sin here saying big up Ghosted. Thanks as always for joining. We've got John Fitzsimmons on Facebook. John and anyone else on Facebook and Twitter, make sure you come over to the YouTube channel as well, guys, because there's so much more content over here. Our home should be a fortress. Exactly. It really should, and it isn't at the moment. Logan's saying Richie doesn't deserve to start against Arsenal, but Frank will end up playing him. Don't talk to Thomas Frank's AI son, Frank Thomas, about Richarlison. He's probably the biggest Richarlison hater in the world. Should have started with the same starting 11 against Copenhagen. Doji is a must start. Doji's been brilliant. I think probably the most underrated player in a Tottenham shirt this season. We admire fluid down the left with him, absolutely. And I think as your video sort of highlighted earlier, Kish, like Odebear does so much better when it's Spence on the left, but also Udogie cutting in those sort of central areas is also really, really key. So we'll get into that as well. And actually, in fact, in terms of my slides that I prepared, let's have a quick chat about Odebear, because I think obviously he's been better in recent weeks. I think he's shown his signs where a lot of fans were getting on his back and he was kind of being used as a scapegoat in some of the bad performances. I'll start with you, Kish, because I know you're just fresh from doing that video today. What are your thoughts on Odegaard overall in terms of what impact he can make in a Tottenham team? And what do you think Frank needs to tweak around him or tactically in order to get the best out of him?
I think the thing with Odegaard is he's really flexible. So to be honest, while I've spoken a lot, sorry, about how Xavi might need certain circumstances to play with, I think Odegaard is someone who can play more infield. He can play on the touchline. He's so kind of technically secure and refined, while also being quick off the mark. A very intelligent player as well. So for me, with him, it's more of a kind of just building on what he's doing. I think people forget he's 20. There's so little amount of wingers who are the finished article at 20. I think people are frustrated because we are relying on a 20-year-old, which is fair enough, but that is nothing to do with Odegaard and his development. You know, he needs and deserves time. I think he'd be at a long point if he didn't get that injury in his first season. So he was out for four-ish months, I think, at 19, which is difficult for any player to kind of build any rhythm. He's finally getting a proper kind of run-ish of games, and he's growing each week. So I think fans need to kind of vent their frustrations elsewhere rather than him. You know, I've seen comments of people saying he'll never be good enough for Spurs. I don't know how you can say that about a 20-year-old, especially one who represents France at youth level, very highly rated in France, and we know how good their youth teams are, and has shown good signs at Spurs. It's not been perfect by any means, but for a 19-year-old last season and a 20-year-old this season, there's a lot to like there, with room for improvement.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, mate. I really do. And actually, to be fair, Frank and I, as in Frank Thomas and I, have been sort of defending Tell a bit more. I'd say Frank's defending them a bit more than I have. I've got frustrated in weeks when I've seen, Spurs been really poor. And actually, it's naturally you look at the players that aren't really pulling their weight. And to be fair, at times Odegaard and Tell haven't been great for Tottenham, but I certainly have seen improvement in the last few weeks. Obviously, Tell had a good game against Leeds away, and Odegaard's had a couple of good games on the run now. And I think it's interesting that they're sort of stating their claim in the team a little bit more. Frank, anything to add on what Kish has said there about Odegaard before we maybe turn our attention to the more of the tactical side of things and Xavi Simons?
Yeah, a little bit. I think one thing that's kind of a problem and that's hindered those two, and when you've got young players, is that neither of them have actually really been given a consistent run in the side. And I said this throughout last year, that everyone shot Tell down so quickly in the first 6 months that he was here, at the back end of last season. He played practically in that second side in the Premier League every week that was not with the key players. And when he played with the main players, and we played away at Frankfurt, he was very good in the 1-0. And so, but we never really got enough. They never really got enough opportunities with that main team. I think now, like, I look back to that Leeds game. Do I think that in the Leeds game before the last international break, do I think we were perfect going forward? No. Do I think we were completely fluid in the finished article? Not at all. But I watched those two, and I think they have something that we don't really have in that team. There's a directness to them. There's sort of a hunger and a desire, and I think, I'm not going to say get into Richarlison, but when I watch Tell and I compare him to him, or I watch Odegaard in comparison to Johnson at times, and I'm a fan of Johnson at the best of times, but I look at those two and I think that they offer something that the others don't really have. And I think they were probably shot down too quickly. And I think for young kids, I mean, as I say, and I go back to all the time, the amount of Spurs fans that would have said they wanted Brian Mbeumo this summer, right? Everyone wanted Mbeumo this summer. And as Kish said, it's the frustration that maybe we don't have someone that's 25, 26, that's the sort of annoyance behind it. But everyone wanted Mbeumo. And Mbeumo at Odegaard's age had just come up from the second division in France. We're talking about a guy who, if coached properly, could actually be leaps and bounds above, and if coached well by the same coach. And so I think that belief needs to be in the two. Certainly Odegaard, I think, in the last sort of week, in the last two games, has been superb.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, well put about. Yeah, it's hard to forget. It's hard to remember that they're only 20 years old, or Tell even younger, isn't he? So it's kind of crazy. Rodney's in here. Big up, Rodney. Thanks for joining. Wayne's saying, I like Odegaard. Good young player who will definitely come good. DFST, it's been a while, mate. Hope you're good. He says, Xavi needs time and runners in front of him. Playing Richie left or full stop is not right. Johnson doesn't run behind often enough, and Kudus runs back towards his goal. Solanke will make such a big difference. He's also saying Odebear will be a gun. To make things work like a miracle magnet, need to inject just a bit of negative so that we can make things work for your positivity. Benny Guy, I've heard you getting digged out in the chat for being a bit too negative. I'm going to keep an eye on your comments. Wayne's saying, yeah, that injury definitely set Odebear back, which is a shame, but it'll silence the negative fans. I like Tell as well. Good young player will come good mentality. And Logan saying Odebear kind of reminds me of an Aaron Lennon. Wow, that is high praise. I think Aaron Lennon's one of the most underrated Premier League players ever, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's a mad statement or not, but here we go. Anyway, we will have a quick chat about Xavi Simons, and then we will highlight a few examples that Frank has identified from the game, from the highlights, and hopefully, you know, we can talk a bit more about it in practice with Xavi Simons. And obviously, again, got taken off a little bit before the end of the match, and he did seem a bit frustrated. There was booing, wasn't there, from the fans? Kish and Frank, you were there. I don't know if you were booing that decision from Frank to take him off. Kish, I can see you laughing. I think you were.
I wasn't booing, but I was disappointed.
Just quickly, Kish, I'll start with you on Xavi Simons, because I know you did actually. I watch all your videos, mate. I'm like a fanboy, honestly. But 2 months ago, you did a video about Xavi Simons and him being wasted. Do you think in recent weeks we've seen better signs of Xavi Simons, and what else do you think needs to be done in order to sort of utilize him and make him more effective in this system?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's really helped him is that in certain games we've tucked that left winger inside to be closer to him. So against Copenhagen, it was Odebear. Against Newcastle, I thought Xavi was decent, was Bergvall, which is obviously a quite strange position to see him in, but I think that was really helpful. And obviously that requires probably Udogie to play so that we can have some width where the winger then tucks in. Yeah, I think with Xavi, Nathan A. Clark put out a good thread yesterday, I believe, but the amount of times we're getting him the ball is so low in comparison to other kind of advanced midfielders. And players like him really need lots of touches because they're high-risk players. So with high-risk players, you need them to be able to touch the ball constantly, because if they're going to take risks all the time, then they need volume, because most of those risks aren't going to come off, but when it does, it creates a goal, for example. So if you're only getting him the ball in advanced areas 2-3 times a game, then you're not really getting the best out of him. And I think what Thomas Frank is doing is leaving him very isolated at times. It's been much improved in those certain games I said. But again, against United, there were some screenshots, which I'm sure you've probably picked out, where like he receives the ball and there's nothing around him. And he needs players to connect with and do give and goes with and rotate with. That's the kind of player he is. He's not someone who's going to dominate massive areas. He's not an elite athlete. He's a decent athlete, I think. He's not the kind of Kudus style player. So you have to kind of optimize your players at what they're good at and try and get the best out of them there. And I think we're really struggling to do that with Xavi Simons. And that might be a personnel thing. Also, the fact that kind of our deeper midfielders really don't progress the ball to him anywhere near enough. So I think there's a few factors there.
Yeah, mate, honestly, spot on. And yes, we have identified a few areas where he is isolated. As you can see from the thumbnail of the video, isolation is the word here in some of the attacking build-up for Xavi Simons. And Frank, we're gonna have a look, aren't we? We're gonna have a look with Kish on the isolation sort of point made there. Guys, if you are enjoying the content, the tactics, the breakdowns, as I said, the 4 massive favourites would be most appreciated. I know I've plugged it twice already and I'm like a broken record, but if you could hit the like button, turn on the notification bell and subscribe, they are all free to do so. And the fourth thing as well, it's in the description and in the live chat. Please go and subscribe to Kish's great channel. It's also free to do so. But if you do want to support the channel in any way, shape or form, there is that super chat and membership option down below. If you become a member, you can come on this show and have your say and also have priority in the chat. But Frank, just quickly on Xavi Simons that we talked about there, got a couple of examples, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, this is the most sort of obvious one from the game. Simons, they break out quite quickly, and Simons on the ball, and he takes it really well past Luke Shaw. Past Luke Shaw, sort of into this area here. That does really well. It's great. It seems great. He's striving forward, but as Kish touched on, he's not an athlete, as in he's very technical. He's a good player, and so he needs that assistance. Johnson, who is just out the picture down here, is sort of begins to jog, and Kolo Muani is sort of the only one that's actually ahead of him. And once you move on to sort of a couple of seconds later, Johnson is still not in the picture. The jogging sort of continued. Kolo Muani, I am not going to sort of completely go at him because I think he's the only one that does make a run. You could argue that run, sort of curve run in behind, could have been an option. But really and truly, Brennan Johnson should be busting a gut to make that, or to at least give him something, to at least give him some help. He ends up getting tackled and then he wins the ball back, sort of in this area here, and we recycle it. But I think as he wins the ball back as well, he then looks forward and no one makes a run again, and then the crowd sort of get on it, not on him necessarily, but on the fact that the lack of movement is pretty poor, and that's kind of an issue for me. I mean, there's the argument that I posed the argument the other day that maybe, well, and I'm not saying I believe this, but maybe without Kudus, he was seeing a little bit more of the ball, Xavi Simons. But I think by losing Kudus, you lose someone that probably would have been in and around that area, and trying to get forward and provide an option. So I think it goes both ways, but it's not a great sight, that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Kish, just based on that, mate, what do you think needs to change in order to combat this problem? Because as you can see here, Simons around 5. I think this is the one I used for the thumbnail. Around 5 Man United players. Where's the support? Where's the wingers? It's just a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is a great example of the type of situation that Xavi Simons is getting the ball in. So obviously here he ends up slipping, and he has for some reason slipped quite a few times. But in this situation, he loses the ball, and everyone who's like casually watching the game thinks, "Oh, what's he doing? He's lost the ball again." But not many players are going to do anything in that position, because look, you got 5, nearly 6 players around him. The issue is that a lot of the kind of times he's getting the ball in the advanced areas, it's in transition, and he's not a transition player. I mean, he's okay in carrying the ball. He can win fouls, but like I said, he's not an athlete like Kudus. So where you want Xavi Simons is in settled possession high up the pitch, where he can get lots of touches. You're keeping the ball, you're recycling it. He's kind of finding little pockets of space to receive the ball in. And the issue is we haven't had any attacking settled possession this season, really. We've never really been camped in the opponent's half. And so for that reason, we've never really been able to find Xavi consistently in good pockets where he can then go and affect the game. So I think obviously this part of this is come down to Johnson. I think he's been very lazy this season, in and out of possession. But I think this is a wider issue where we're just not sustaining attacks. We're not camped in the opposition half ever, and I'm not necessarily expecting us to be able to do that all game. But we don't really seem to have moments where we're constantly knocking on the door and creating things. We recycle the ball a lot around the back, and then we suddenly try and go on transition by either creating the transitions and dragging them in, or kind of winning second balls. And this is not Xavi's game. So I think it's a big issue. Like I said, it was much improved when we had that kind of different system against Copenhagen. But he seemed to abandon that against United, and he also abandoned it against Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm not going to obviously ask you if you're Frank in or out. I don't want to really get into that right here. I mean, I think it's too early either way, no matter how against his tactics you are. But do you think that actually the fact that we keep setting up, like you said at the start, I think it was you that said that we're setting up not to lose, do you think that's a big problem in terms of this tactical approach with Xavi Simons involved?
Yes, I would say so. Like I want to also caveat, I'm not Frank out. I'm nowhere near that, because like I said, he needs time. He needs transfer windows. I would always set up my teams in a complete way. I think some people have suggested that Thomas Frank has kind of looked to sort the defense out before sorting the attack out. And the way I view things is that you can't really do that in football. Like defense and attack they work together. So you prevent conceding goals if you're camped in the opposition half and they don't have the ball. There's so many kind of different ways you can look at it. I think some of the profiles are lacking. So maybe if we had another left back, and while Udogie was out, that we could play that way, where we've kind of tucked the winger in, that might have helped. If we had a better passer in midfield, that probably might have helped as well. So it's hard to know what is kind of by choice and what is out of necessity that he hasn't got certain players, which is why I'm willing to kind of give him 1-2 transfer windows to potentially correct some of this stuff. So I think there's frustrations from my side, but I think you have to give a manager time to see what he's trying to create, and one transfer window is not enough to do that, especially a transfer window when the ownership's kind of changing and.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right. I think it's going to take some time to rebuild this team in the Thomas Frank sort of way, for sure. We got a couple more to get through. Ad Elmore on Facebook saying the issue is clear and everyone can see it. The quality up front is simply not good enough. Frank can see it as well. 2 decent transfer windows with top players. We're flying, work in progress, and can't change overnight. Yeah, there has to be a bit of patience in the fan base. We're not the most patient fan base, I don't think. I think far from it. But yeah, it's a good point. And big up Bilbo is in the chat. Bill, hope you're good, mate. And Zeddy saying Johnson and Richarlison can't leave soon enough. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're not certainly helping the cause in terms of what we've just been discussing there. But going back to the analysis with Thomas Frank's AI son, Frank, what have we got next that we're going to sort of have a little look at? Is it similar sort of examples or?
I want to touch on the goal, your first United goal, a little bit, and only very briefly because I don't think it needs much explaining. I just think the kind of frustration is with this is that I think we're making silly mistakes at times, and I think we've got players who I deem of high quality, and like Pape Sarr, who I think is sort of too good to be doing some of the things he's doing. Sarr kind of frustrates me a little bit because I think he should be. I think he has every attribute to kind of be a world beater, and I think too often he's not on it, or he's a little bit off the boil, and that is a shame. I mean, this is kind of just sloppy. He's on the ball there. He's got more than enough time, right? He takes an extra touch from here. He rolls it to Van der Ven. He gets pressed down by Bruno, who then loses the ball, Mickey Van der Ven, as a result, because he's kind of under pressure, and we fail to sort of clear our lines, and the ball goes across, comes back across, and Blemo scores a header, and it's just sloppy. It's just really, really sloppy, and I'm not encouraging hoofing the ball long. I'm not encouraging just sort of smacking it out for a throw on or any other. I just think that there's a lack of bit of composure and a lack of sort of a kind of a brain, and that's it sounds sort of a bit harsh and but it's just these are kind of simple things that you can cut out that good teams don't tend to do, right? And I don't want to touch on them too much, but how often do you see Declan Rice, putting Gabriel or Saliba under real pressure like this? You don't, and that has to kind of be cut out. And if you want to progress, the basics have to be sorted out first. And whilst a lot of the basics I think have been sorted out first, and the defensive line and things have been made a lot better, there are still sort of little mistakes, and it still feels like, as I say, when we go forward, that we can make three of the front four are perfect together, and one of them always seems to let it down. And that's kind of the frustration, that's about clicking and about sort of learning, and that's kind of a different situation because those guys, most of them are new, so they're learning. But Pape Sarr has played with Mickey Van der Ven. He's played with these guys. I think he's just got to be a little bit brighter, a little bit smarter in certain areas. And it let us down here. But I think he's a player that, for me, is too good to be making the mistakes, sort of the little basic mistakes that he is making.
Sure. No, it will make sense. Before I get Kish's thoughts on this as well, and before we change slide, I saw something on Twitter earlier. It was of, I don't know if you guys saw it, it was of Neymar. He went all the way back for a goal kick. And passed it short to the defender, who ended up booting it. And the reason why he came back and took the goal kick is because he wanted them to play out the back. And it just kind of reminds me of this: is sometimes just pop the ball up out the pitch and put yourself out of trouble. But I don't know, go and check that out. It did make me laugh because Neymar's head was on absolute Mars. Go on, Frank.
I think also as well is I'm not sure they have total confidence in the front four and holding the ball. And I think that's a bit of a problem, that Mawani holds it all right. And Richarlison on Saturday, and I'm not his biggest fan, I thought held it okay in the first half. Second half less so. But I don't think there's a confidence that any of those front four are going to bring the ball down unless the ball is perfect and manage to keep it and let it stick up front. And so I think there's a little bit of a reluctance to actually just go long to them. And I think that is putting us under a bit of pressure. And I think that's when Solanke comes in that I think we'll see, and Kulusevski actually as well. because they both hold it well and they can both carry it and take it, that I think we'll see maybe more of a sort of a confidence and a calmness sort of in players like Pape Sarr.
Sure, no, absolutely. And Kish, anything to add there, mate? Like, I mean, I'm a big fan of Pape Sarr. I don't think he had the best game, and he didn't, cover himself in glory there. But anything to add on this sort of piece that Frank's picked up here?
Yeah, I think when you play the way we're playing, you leave things in jeopardy so much because you are turning a lot of games into 50-50 games when they shouldn't be. And not kind of including Chelsea, because Chelsea are a pretty good side. I think United, your Wolves games, you have to be perfect defensively. And if you do make an error, then the game suddenly completely changes and the game's on its head. And I think if we were to be more kind of taking the game to the opposition, then one, you're further away from your own goal. So these mistakes don't happen as much. You might give the ball away high up and you can be transitioned on, which, we saw a lot under Ange, but that's one thing. But also you're likely to score more than one goal, and you're going to kind of be in a lead anyway, where these mistakes matter less. I think we're in a situation now where, especially at home, if we concede, it's a massive issue, and we don't necessarily look like getting back into the game. Where I've watched Spurs sides before, especially under Poch, where we went 1-0 down and no one really cared. Like, it was just the same where we play and we dominate the game and we create chances. So I think that's a massive issue. In terms of what Frank said about people being secure on the ball, I think Kudus is obviously great at that. So when he is there, that's an option. But if you don't have the players to hold it up when you go long, then let's try and play through midfield more. Let's use some of the other qualities of the players, because Johnson and Richarlison, mainly those two, are so poor at linking play and holding the ball. That kind of playing direct into them is just pointless. So you have to find quality elsewhere. You have to get Johnson away from build-up, approach play, get him running in behind what he's doing best at if you want to play him. Richarlison as well, you want him probably at best at kind of fighting in the box and dealing with crosses and stuff like that. So you have to really, really look at these players and think about how best to use them. And I agree. I think Richarlison and Johnson are two players that should be moved on, because I don't think the upside makes up for the negativities in their game.
No, spot on. Yeah, I think you're right as well about Johnson. Like, if he has to play or he wants to play him, you got to utilize his strengths. And I think in terms of the ball carrying from midfield, you said through the lines rather than punting up pitch to bring the ball down like Kudus is good at. I think you need the players like Bergvall in there to be able to carry the ball forwards, because I think out of all the midfielders, maybe Sarr at times, but I think Bergvall's so good with the ball and bringing the ball forward and driving forward. We saw such a good performance from him against West Ham earlier in the season, and where he was just fantastic at that. And I think we actually missed that. Obviously, he's injured at the moment. He's got a concussion, hasn't he? But I think it's important that we bring him back in the fold, especially for games where maybe he has to come on and actually provide that to the team. I think that's super important. I think that's a good point you bring there, Kish.
This is my main issue as well. It's really hard to conclude anything or evaluate anything when there's so many players missing. So I still can't really work out what Frank wants to build overall. There's been negatives, but maybe it's like a thing where he's just kind of trying to put solid performances in, don't lose too many games and wait for the players to come back. That's not how I would do it, but maybe that's the case. So it's really hard to kind of make any sweeping statements so far until we really know what he's going to do with a more fit squad. I mean, the injury crisis, and he's rotated really well, Frank. He's done little tweaks every single game to kind of 1, 2, 3 players, which is the way I would rotate as well. I think like that keeps the squad fresh, but you don't kind of change up the whole squad. We've seen so many games over the years where we've gone out of cup competitions because we played or we've struggled in cup competitions because we played a full rotated team. Whereas what Frank has been doing is constantly rotating a couple pieces, keeps the squad fresh, but also you don't lose the overall structure by kind of swapping out 10 players. So the injuries, I think, are just bad luck at the moment. especially like concussions and broken jaws. They're just things you can't kind of prepare for. So hopefully when we kind of see some of these players coming back, we see more of what the kind of attacking structure that Frank's trying to build is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, has been some bad luck with injuries again. Maybe not so much finger pointing at the medical team, although I've seen a bit of that with the other players for sure. But yeah, like you said, concussions and broken jaws is just pure bad luck. Absolutely. Big up Elvis, by the way. It's been absolutely ages since you're in the chat. I'm doing good, mate. I hope you are as well. And guys, if you are over on Facebook and Twitter, I know there's quite a few of you. In fact, there's 110 watching across all socials. If you could come to YouTube, those that are on those platforms, because we have much more regular content over here. So if you can come over here, subscribe to SpursRelated if you are new. And if you're watching now and you're not subscribed as well, please subscribe, hit that like button, turn on the noti bells, and also go and check out Kish's channel, which is down in the live chat and in the description, because he's doing some great tactical videos as well. But talking of tactics, and big up Daniel as well, who's just joined. Frank, we got a couple more points.
Yeah, I'll start with this one. There's two more to go, and this is a little sort of brief bit on Odobert, which is it's just very, very good, right? Odobert picks up the ball here, and I think it's about sort of the 84th minute, which I think it's just as Tel scores actually. It's for the goal. And he drives really well, and takes it round Ugarte. He goes at him, which very few of our players seem to do. They don't go at you. And as I say, there's a directness and a desire to want to get the ball round you and do something with it. And he did, and he plays it out to Udogie, who obviously finds Tel in the middle and scores. Deflection, but it's a well taken goal. But it comes from Odobert just driving at United, just driving at the heart of United, and being, as you know, I'm sure Kish sort of mentioned before, and whatever. If you want to be, if you're at a big side, you've got to be proactive, and you've got to be proactive in games where you get the ball. You've got to take these chances and actually do things with the ball. It's pointless sort of having the ball constantly and not doing things with it. And Odebert's one of those players that you feel like he wants to drag you forward. He wants to actually hurt the opposition, and he does really well. And he creates a good bit of space for Udogie, who puts a nice ball across. And something we didn't really see enough of Udogie last season doing was playing as a wing back and getting the ball across, because obviously he played sort of in the middle, and that was what we kind of bought him for. We saw him at Udinese and he was fantastic at that, sort of keeping that width and then being able to just actually bomb down the wings. And he did that brilliantly when he came on at the weekend. I thought he was great against Copenhagen the other day as well. And I think these two work well together, and it's kind of the prime example of that. As I say, Odobert drives and with an intention to hurt Man United, and it's a good ball across, and Tel does well.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Odobert in the right space again. Doji link up plays good there. Kish, from your video earlier, I know you mentioned more about Spence and Spence and Odobert as the combination, but I know you also touched on Udogie. What do you think is that best left-hand side at the moment, mate? And also anything to add on this piece here?
Yeah, 100% best partnership is Udogie and Odobert. I think what's so good about those two is that they are both flexible to be able to go wide and narrow. And if you look at the best kind of fullback winger combinations around the world, you don't see them kind of in strict positions. So you look at like Nuno Mendes and Desiree Doué at PSG. One of them might be narrow at one point and the other one holding the width, and they can both do both things. And I think that massively applies to these two. The reason I was big on kind of talking about Spence is because I think Odobert is the only one who can pair with Spence, because he's the only width holder in the team on that left side. So I think with Spence, you need someone who's going to be able to stretch teams, because Spence isn't going to do it. So that was kind of the point about Spence over there. In terms of what Frank said about Odobert drives at players, I think that's such a massive thing. And I think the reason for that is that when you drive at players, you take control of that 1v1, because you're driving at them. You're making the decision which way to go. If you kind of try and run around them, they know where you're going to go. You've already telegraphed it. Johnson does it so much where he's so straight on. So he just knows that he's trying to run around you down the line. And how many times do we see them crosses get blocked? And what Odobert does is he approaches it really at kind of an elusive angle where you don't know which way he's going to go. He's completely kind of open in his body and he's side on. And he's driving at the defender's kind of front leg so that he can either take it down the line with a nice change of direction, or he can cut inside. And that makes him unpredictable and much better in those dribbles.
Spot on. Absolutely. Fully agree. Frank, anything to add? I know you said you got one more point on the screen here.
Yeah, there's there's another sort of little picture I want to bring up.
Sure.
And it kind of links to Odegaard again. And it's this one which I'm sure has sort of gone around quite a lot on Twitter in the last couple of days.
That was shocking, by the way. This is shocking.
Yeah, I mean,
I was screaming.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Richarlison is Harry Kane, and maybe we're naive to the fact that normal strikers can't play balls like we think they can. I don't know. Maybe we're all just kind of brainwashed by how good Kane is and Kane was. But this doesn't feel like too difficult of a pass. It feels like a pass that someone of higher quality probably can find. Odegaard makes a good run. It's pretty dismal defending from Man United. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not, but that isn't a majorly difficult pass. Obviously not in that sort of curved way, but that isn't a majorly difficult pass. And then that's kind of the frustration for me. That could have been a golden opportunity, and instead, I mean, it's not the worst ball in the world through to Johnson, but it's just poor from the pair of them, really. Well and truly, and that, you know, Odegaard could have been on the score sheet, and we could have been like, so he got man of the match, but we could have been really sort of praising him for what would have been like an unbelievably good cameo.
Absolutely. Kish, what did you make of this, mate? When you were sitting I'm assuming you were standing in the south stand, seeing that ball.
I actually wasn't sat in the south stand this time. I was sat in west, but yes, I was also. Was Johnson offside in this position? I can't even remember.
He looks offside. Yeah.
So that's the one thing. I mean, you can see he's offside there. He's got a perfect view of the fact he's gone past, so he shouldn't be playing that pass anyway. And then if you do delay, you tend to look up and look around at your options, but with the split second extra. I think Solanke makes that pass. I think Kolo Muani makes that pass. So I don't think it's a high level pass. I think he's very close in the way he's received it, so he's only looking one way. But Odegaard also, I don't know, but he should be absolutely screaming for it. But again, it's not on him. It's on Richarlison. I think he was really poor, and yeah, there's not much more to say on it.
Absolutely. Frank, was this the one in the first half where I messaged you while you were at the ground and said that he's got to be in our tactics? He should have played it left.
No, this was the second half.
So this was a different one. He also did it. Sorry to completely go off on Richarlison, but he did it in the first half, and I messaged you saying, "What is he doing?" Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm just as a approach. You do not need to apologise about having a go at Richarlison in front of me. I am more than okay to listen to that.
Well, we talk about it enough. Couple comments, and we will be final thoughts and wrapping things up. But Fellaini, I'm so sorry, but I was going to say Fellaini, and I'm sorry, I've completely butchered your name. Fellaini, thanks for your comment. He says the problem is Frank's system not attacking players. Spurs is playing so deep, which makes it hard for attacking players to make an effect and flowing attack. What do you make of that, Kish?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, like I said, there's maybe a lack of real experience in the front line, but I think there's more than enough talent there to not win a league, but to dominate a lot of games of football against, you know, your Wolves, your Bournemouth. We should be dominating games, and these attacking players aren't getting anywhere near enough touches, and when they are getting touches, they're not in the right areas. I will caveat by saying that I don't think Johnson and Richarlison are of that level, but those two haven't been necessarily the only options we've had. Obviously, in the last couple of games, it's been those two. But I think previously we've had more than enough quality on the pitch. Kudus, Xavi Simons, Odegaard, whether it's Richarlison or someone else up front, that's more than enough quality to create a lot of chances in Premier League matches. So I do agree.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And we've also got Daniel Field in there saying the middle section is somewhat scarce, in my opinion. Really need some ballers in midfield. And that kind of goes with the point we were making about Lucas Bergvall. Kish, just very quickly, mate, final sort of thoughts and everything. Do you think that when our whole team is fully fit, that Lucas Bergvall should be a starter? or are you more? I don't think you are, but are you more of the thought of a Palhinha and Bentancur still, or do you think it depends on the match?
I think it partly depends on the match. I personally wouldn't ever pair Palhinha and Bentancur together. I would start Bentancur more than Palhinha. I know people love Palhinha, but I think in terms of games where we need to really dominate the ball, I think we should be less worried about trying to break up play and more about dominating games and attacking. I think Palhinha is a great piece to have in certain games. I think the Champions League kind of latter stages, he's going to be massive. But I think Bentancur and Bergvall or Bentancur Gray, I think Gray has shown some good signs, would be a serviceable midfield for the moment to play a bit more progressively and a bit more positively.
Absolutely. And what is your sort of best 11? Okay, so say for example the Man United game, if we had a fully fit squad, who would your 11 be, mate? If everyone was available,
including Maddison and Kulusevski.
Yeah,
this is a hard one, man.
It's a bad one to end on, isn't it? That's a hard one to end on.
So obviously, I'd go. I mean, I think the back four and keeper pick themselves. So Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie.
Yeah.
See, I would probably, if we're playing at home against like a mid-table-ish side, I'd probably have Bentancur in a kind of lone pivot, and then Maddison and Simons ahead of him. It's so difficult because Kulusevski I obviously love. I don't know how he's going to return from his injury. I think I worry more about his return than Maddison's return because of how much of Kulusevski's game is physicality and athleticism. I think Kudus has to play. Yeah, I can't even tell you. I think Odobert probably drops out for the moment because I think at 20 he should be a bit part player anyway. So I'd probably look to get Kulusevski and Kudus on either side. And for me, I really liked the look of Kolo Muani, even though he got hardly any kind of chance to show it. I think there's a proper player there. Hopefully his kind of injury isn't that long. Solanke, I like. Again, don't know how he's going to return from his injury, and I think he's never going to be a kind of killer in front of goal. So those two are, I think, a bit of a toss of a coin. But I think that's what I would do against like lower opposition anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree, Frank. I'd get your 11, but we'd be here another sort of 10 minutes, mate. Not to swerve the question, but yeah, I agree. I think what you've said about Kulusevski is a super key point. You know, it depends how he's going to come back. And Kolo Muani, he's been unlucky, obviously against it was against Copenhagen. All the games kind of merge into one. He should have probably scored 2 or 3. As well. Big up to Daniel Field for the super sticker there, mate. Really appreciate that. So I'm trying to see what the super sticker is. It's a thinking face. You're thinking about what we're discussing, maybe. But that's really kind of you, mate. Thank you. And if anyone else wants to support the channel in any shape, oh, look at that. Another one. He's got another one in. Big up, Daniel. Really appreciate it. This one is, I wish I could put it on the screen. It's I don't even know how to explain that. It's like a Superman duck on a stool with someone looking at him. It's quite random. So guys, if you want to check out the super stickers, they're so random. Go and check them out. But yeah, really appreciate that, Daniel. That really helps towards supporting the channel. As you know, there's costs associated with the channel, like the StreamYard, like the setups, like the mics and everything. So really appreciate that, mate. Guys, if you have enjoyed the content today with Kish from Lily White Lab, please do me 4 massive favors. Firstly, hit the like button on this video, turn on the notification bell down below, and subscribe to Spurs Related. We are on the march to 5,000 subscribers with a hope to get there by the end of the year. And of course, please also, I'm going to put it in the chat again. I've put it in the chat many times and in the description, but please do go and check out Kish's channel. Kish, thanks so much for coming on, mate. What can we expect on your channel in the next few weeks and days?
Yeah, so with the international break coming up, I think I'm going to do a kind of little review of and like a tier list of ranking every player's season so far. So like compared to expectation of what I had before the season, how have they kind of fared there? So I think I'm going to do that on Thursday or Friday. And I'm also probably next week going to do like a bit of a loan watch. So all the players out on loan, kind of see how they've been developing, what kind of impact they might make next season. So those are the 2 I've got coming up.
Sure, sounds great, mate. Thanks once again for coming on. And yeah, Mikey Moore's putting in quite a shift the last couple of games. Didn't start amazing, but got a goal at the other day, didn't he? So decent stuff from him. I'm sure he'll be featured on that video on the Lone Watch. So guys, please go and click on that link. It's so easy to do. Subscribe to Kish. Let us know if you've subscribed to Kish from our channel. Say Spurs Related sent you there. See if the Spurs related relatables can help us out. But guys, that's about all we've got time for. Big up to Daniel again for the super stickers. Really do honestly appreciate that, mate. That's very kind of you. If you're watching on repeat as well, guys, watching the playback, please do make sure you're hitting the like button, notifications, subscribe, and of course subscribe to Kish as well. We will see you back on the Spurs Related YouTube channel again very soon for more content and more tactical breakdowns. But as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs. Come on.